We like where we are right now. It's a hold at our firm, but we have a decent amount of Netflix. But we're really excited to see the market shifting from only focused on sub growth to actual earnings, which were excellent at Netflix, well above expectation. And that's why the stock's really moving higher, because as Netflix moves into this new phase of competition, sub growth is still important, but what it really matters is the platform able to leverage that sub growth into higher profits? And that's what they proved this quarter, is that they could do that. And so that's bullish for Netflix long term. And we're bulls on Netflix long term. We just think the valuation is a little high, but with much higher earnings, that makes that valuation look a little bit more reasonable.
Ashley, what was your take on the sub numbers?
I mean, they're doing great internationally, and that's what they said they wanted to do last quarter. So I'm like, okay, keep going, guys.
Not concerned about the slight miss on the US subs?
I mean, it's not great, obviously. You don't want to miss things. They still grew. I think it's interesting to keep an eye on the international market and sort of where they start going with content creation and the budgets they have for the shows more than anything.
Ronnie, what do you want to hear more from Reed Hastings when it comes to competition and all of these new streaming services that are coming?
Well, I want to focus on Netflix's content, and I think that's really what subscribers are going to decide. Subscribers were a bit soft, but it wasn't that bad. As you said, the growth was pretty good. They're deciding sort of whether Netflix original content is good enough for them, whether it's attractive enough for them, and whether what's still left on Netflix after a lot of other larger media providers pull off their popular shows like The Office and Friends, whether it's still good enough of a deal for them.
Ross, what's your take on the debate as to whether more over-the-top services coming online just speeds up people cutting from traditional subscription services and actually increases the tide for all of the over-the-top services?
Yeah, I mean, I look at the advent of Disney Plus and Apple TV as the end of cable completely. So cable's had a few years to make adjustments and maybe, get their act together like taxi cabs have had with Uber, but they still have no taxi app and cable still has no cable app. That's great. So this will put the nail in the coffin for cable companies. I think Netflix is in a great position over the next couple years. My friends in Hollywood and at Netflix are super bullish over their content over the next 2 years. I think the real question is, after you get through the next couple years, where does Netflix go from there? And for us, we see them moving into putting movies in the theaters, like the big, debacle with The Irishman not getting in the theaters is a huge miss for Netflix. They're making great movies and they need to be in theaters, and they can monetize that. And I still think Netflix can monetize a lot through advertising, or having an advertising tier where they could start taking ad dollars, because they aggregate so many eyeballs around the world. It's worth a ton. So Netflix has a couple other levers to pull for profitability as they go forward. So we're still very bullish on Netflix, and people aren't getting rid of their Netflix. Let's be real. It's the best service out there right now and probably will be for some time.
Ashley, do you think it's possible that Netflix could or has picked up anyone that's gotten rid of HBO now that Game of Thrones is over? I mean, is that an opportunity?
So that's what I'm really interested in going forward as these streaming services launch, because are we going to see people start switching based off shows? Am I going to get Netflix for Stranger Things? When Stranger Things is over, cancel? That could be what happened this quarter.
Yes.
And then move over to Disney. That's going to be really interesting behavior to watch, because I don't know if that's a subscriber they want. I think they would imagine they want someone long term.
Ronnie, quickly, key focus on the call for you?
On the what? The key focus of the call? I think future competition. As you were mentioning before, just all of the new streaming services that are about to launch. We have 2 coming up next month and 2 coming up in the spring. That's going to put a lot more pressure on Netflix.